The second panel, Innovation and the Future Workforce. That panel will focus on how innovation, new technologies, and evolving labor market trends are shaping the workforce of the future, as well as how public employment services can respond to these changes. The panel will be moderated by Mr. Shawn Mendes, Director of Swedish Public Employment Agency. Previously, Mr. Mendes worked at the Swedish Council for Higher Education, Vinnova, that's Agency for Innovation, Ministry of Education and Research, and Skolverket, I hope I pronounced that correctly, the Swedish National Agency for Education, as well as for the European Training Foundation in Torino. Prior to moving to Sweden in 2002, Shawn worked as political advisor in Canada before joining the public sector in British Columbia, where he worked with international trade, labor market policy, and industry training. Such a great experience. So, Mr. Mendes, please take the floor.
Thank you very much. Is the microphone working? It's not sitting very comfortably here, but so, I mean, thank you for the introduction. When I hear that, sometimes when I meet people for the first time, I say, hello, my name's Shawn Mendes. I'm 2,000 years old. I've worked in many countries and had many jobs, and but I still have the enthusiasm of a 5-year-old. I don't know why. I'm just so hungry and excited all the time. But I'm really honored and pleased to have been asked to moderate this panel. We're going to be talking about innovation and the future of the workforce. And I would like to remind you all, before I introduce our speakers and we go into the discussions, that there will be the QR code visible occasionally. And if you just point your device at that, probably your smartphone, then you'll be able to ask questions. And then I have a device here, which our wonderful conference organizers have given me, and I'll then be able to see these questions and ask them to our panelists. I'd also like to, just briefly before introducing all of our esteemed panelists, to remind you all what we agreed upon at our little meeting a week or 10 days ago, that we were all going to try to keep our presentations, how many minutes? 15. 10! 10-minute presentations, because I'm sure there'll be many questions from the audience. And with that, I will very briefly introduce the 4 panelists, and then I'll invite each of you to come up for your presentation. Panelist number 1, from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Željko Pauković, Director of Human Capital of the Future at the Mozaik Foundation. Thank you for being here and welcome. Panelist number 2, Azza Hayek, one of the founders and business development partner at SkillLab. Hello. Panelist number 3, Zlatan Kulenovic, Innovative Approaches to Gen Z Employment. And Mr. Zlatan Kulenovic, and he's the president of the Social Innovation Incubator, MUNJA, in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And our final panelist, Kristina Mazalin, is an advisor in the employment service of Croatia. So you're in the anchor position, the final panelists, and after that we'll go into a series of interesting questions. So please, our first speaker, Željko, welcome up.
Dear colleagues, friends, it's a privilege to be here on WAPE's conference. Thanks a lot to the Labor Employment Agency Director to be a partner and to be invited as someone who could share some of the thoughts, some of the ideas on old-fashioned way, but speaking about the future. It's very important to keep under 10 minutes, I remind myself. So it's very important to said that reality of many European labor markets that we face a paradox. Face a paradox of employment report shortages and people remain unemployed or underemployed. This is our reality, but our works in Foundation Mozaik, it's focus on simple but difficult question. How do we help the people to build skills employers need and prove these skills in a trusted way and to connect them faster in real opportunities? The role of PASS, I would like to stress out, is not to deliver all of the trainings or solve every mismatch alone. The future role of public employment services is to become trusted orchestrators. That's the reality that the digital skills to job ecosystems, skills they need to identify, people competencies, and verified trainings and target and jobs outcome to be measured. I would like to highlight this issue, the issue that, sorry. Okay. The real issue as well for us in B&H, it's, but as well in other countries, it's coordination. The coordination between the public employment services, education providers, and as well the employers. That's something that we would like, how we could create opportunities to share the skills to jobs layers. In reality of Bosnia and Herzegovina, I would like just to highlight the mismatch. It's still despite unemployed, as I mentioned earlier. It's despite the reality of the employment strategies that could be used as an anchor as well to prioritize the different issues as increasing employability, aligning skills with the labor market needs. It is the reality that in a practice, our emigration, skills mismatch, and weak transitions, it's something that we could learn from our reality to the work. I would like just to emphasize in a case of Foundation Mozaik that beside partnership and collaboration and cooperation with the public employment services, it's also issue of the collaboration with the cities and municipalities as a partners in Bosnia and Herzegovina, who are the also actors on the labor market. And if we are contributing to collaborate with within the last few years or over the 10 decades, not few years, with 80% of municipalities, it gives us the role and responsibility that could supporting not just the youngsters, but the people on the labor market in building the skills and defining and creating the models that could enable to be more accepted on the labor market as a future skills employees, particularly focus it's on youth. And one of the advantages, it's also the different issues of the ESCO, VF, and some other taxonomies that can be adopted based not just on the needs of the system and the strategies, but as well the educating the future labor generation that could be the motor of the future economy, not just in B&H, but in as well in Western countries. Different kind of approach that it is used for defining something that you have in a bag. It's a skills wallet. It's something that you could use and find out as an interesting way how you could take the skills with yourselves. But sometimes that it's not just to create a new model that enable and public employment services and employers and as well the oops, I did it anyway. Public employment services that could use the different kind of digital platforms and tools, not just independently, then just as supporting and strengthening the role of counselors in public employment services. These different kind of the digital solutions that could contribute, that it is not the ecosystem that we are supporting isolated from the strategy, from the needs of the market, and as well from the trends that is currently not just in Europe, but as well in other countries. It's mismatching despite of unemployment. What can educator, providers, and employers could gain? Could gain the different abilities, different tools that could combine their efforts in an area of providing not just the needs, but as well the demands for a future labor skills. Just would like to emphasize collaboration with the Federal Employment Office relate to labor training for the labor market. That's, for example, something that existing public employment program could become one of the first that could be the case for using the digital skills to jobs ecosystems. Speaking about that, it is something that could, and Foundation Mozaik, but as well the partners and employers could have a benefit from the digital solution in this ecosystem. I would like just not at the end, but this is the real general issue, but something that I would like to highlight, it is we don't want to create another platform. We just need to strengthen the role of public employment services, and we would like to empower them because they are sitting on the intersection between the people, between employers, public policy, and social inclusion. And as I said at the end, this is not an ability to create one more platform. It's real innovation. It's trust. Trusted skills, trusted partnership, and trusted pathway to learning for decent work. It's the key issue that we would like as a Foundation Mozaik to have in the future by using different digital solution to strengthen the skills and to strengthen the public employment services. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very, very much, Željko. And you didn't even use 10 minutes, 9, I think. So a gift to the others. Okay, thank you so much. I'd now ask Azza Hayek to come up and share with her presentation on from measuring shortages to unlocking supply.
Hi, everyone. Actually, I think I would struggle in tracking time because this is a topic I like to talk about, especially after the first session when colleagues from OEV and Le Forum, they were talking about skills intelligence, and I thought this is a very nice conversation to complement the first session because we were talking about the current systems of skills intelligence and what they are measuring. And here I am talking about the next generation of the skills intelligence. And I think it would be so good together to discuss, okay, what we need to add for this new generation or next generation for the skills intelligence. But before that, I just want to bring for you, from my experience working in this field since 8 years, some lessons we learned and looks that we found about those systems and where really we need to focus and where we want to do more improvement. So before going to my presentation, I just want to stop in one of the figures. Maybe this will be so interesting for you, Michelle, because you like talking about numbers. So one of the numbers that stopped me, like 33.8 billion euro. It's like the number of, this is how much the EU economy is leaving on the table because migrants, they are working in jobs lower than their qualifications. So here we are not talking about shortage of skills. The skills are there, but they are not seen properly. And we can see from this number how much this cost us and cost the economy in Europe. And now talking about more numbers about this, for this problem, which is like the first number here is that 26.7 million of people in Europe. Also, they are available for work, but they are not participating on their potential. So here we are talking about also the same problem where people, they are there, they have their skills, but they are still not able to invest in the skills that they have in the right way. Also, 40% of the non-migrants in the EU are overqualified for their current job, which lead to the same number we were talking about. But the interesting figure also here is that 33.8 billion, 24 percentage point here, that in Germany, we have higher employment rate for migrants after a qualification recognition. And that tells us when there is an intervention and when it's fast enough, how much change and how much efficient it will be or reflect or give us an impact in the economy. So the thing now that we want to focus in is what the questions that we need to ask to be able to find those people or to unlock those talents. So I always like to use this metaphor to talk about it, like if you lost your keys and you just search for those keys under like a lamppost, and you at the end you will say, okay, I didn't find those keys. So the conclusion for you that, okay, the keys are not exist anymore. But the point that, are we searching in the right place, or are we searching or doing an extra step to find those like the hidden things that we are searching for? The same thing for the skills intelligence that we have, or the current skills intelligence that we have. So we measure rates, vacancy rates, we measure hard to fill roles, sector level deficits, a lot of things, shortage maps, which I think and I believe that it's so important to measure. It's still really so worth to measure it. But the point here that they only show us the gap between what the system can see and what the employer tell us they need. So here we are, they don't say anything about the talents that they are there already, but they are invisible. So the question where what we are asking now, what are the gaps? But what we need to ask then, where is the supply and what does it need to be seen? And here I think it's so important there is a significant reframe about the skills intelligence, because we should stop considering the still intelligence to be like a diagnostic tool, but to become more an activation tool to help people to be more accessed, more seen, and more visible to the system so the system can support them. So as I mentioned before, like this is the conclusion of the work that we have done during the last 7 years, that I found that the most important thing we should not start the conversation talking about matching, because there is a step before matching. If we don't just make sure that it's there, even the best matching algorithm will not work well. So we need to focus more on the quality of the data, and we make sure the data that we have is really representing everyone in the population. So based on that, we found those logs. They are 5 logs that really help people, or let's say they make talents stay invisible. The first one is the misinterpreted skills. I think we talked about that many times when we measure the people's experience by only their occupation without talking about their skills, or helping them to express their skills in a structured way that the system can read it. That means we are missing an opportunity here, or we are missing a talent. The same thing for the unlabeled skills, that people, they have competences and they have skills, but again, if they can't represent it in a structured way, and we are building algorithms for structured data, so the matching will not be accurate for them. The stale profiles, actually it's a bigger problem, and I'm representing a lot of people, they are clients for employment services, that there is always a problem in that the start and the validity, let's say, of a profiling, because when we register to the employment service at the beginning, we put our experience, we upload our CV, but it's not a live document where I can update my experience, where I can add my skills, where it can capture also. It's not necessarily to be a manual thing I need to do, but to be like a living profile for me, where I can have all my data up to date, and then after that it will be used in matching in the right way and up to date information. The access problem, which I think we were talking also about it in the first session, I see everyone is talking about inclusion, and here where is the extra step that we need to take. So we should not only rely on the artificial intelligence to help or to support us in accessing people, but we need to make those systems are accessible and to help to reach out to people before inviting them to be a part of the system. So I will not repeat this, so I will just go to the important point here is talking about AI. And I know always that the conversation about AI is like always talking about how AI can help us and how can solve all our problems. But the point here, I don't want only to focus on what AI only can do, because as you see here, for the whole logs, AI can really support. For example, for misinterpreted skills, we can use like extract the signals from people from everywhere. We should not just use a template or ask them to use a standard template for everyone and every segment in the population and the job seeker to use the same template. So there should be flexibility. And again, AI helping us now to utilize this flexibility in the input, how we take the information from people. We can even take a story of a person talking about himself and what he did in his life, in work, and and AI can just convert this to structured data to be compatible with the system where it will be used for matching after that. The second one is the unlabeled skills, and this is also this is one of the things that really we utilize so much during those years, where we are using the natural language processing, which is like an AI algorithm to help people to use their language or the way they want to express themselves, and then to use this technology to convert it to a database or to structure data and to map it to the unified language of skills, which can be any taxonomy, ISCO, ONIT, or competent any taxonomy. But the point here is to map the human language to a structured and unified language of skills. And also, again, the profiles, we were talking about like keeping the profiles always up to date. This is how AI also can support in keeping the validation and the collection of information to be always up to date. But number 4, I can't guarantee that AI can solve it alone, because this is where exactly we need the support from career counselors and from the operational departments, let's say, in employment services, to really reach out to the right people. And also, if I can say that the systems will not serve those people if even if they reach out to them, but we need to build the systems to be able to be accessible for everyone. It's not only that we have something online and we say, okay, this is what everyone can just join. Some people, they don't know even about those systems that they are online. So that's why where there's an extra step from the employment service needs to be done. Okay, yeah. I think I missed one. Okay. Okay, let's talk about it as like how this should look like. So if we're talking about 4 layers for this skills intelligence, or the next generation of skills intelligence, as I mentioned before, it would be really so like more accurate if we collect the data from like a different way of input, not only just forms. It can be from text, from structured interview, from different resources, and then we combine all of them to create this storyline about this person, so we can be able to understand their skills. And also, we can, the integration between platforms is so important. So when we have a lot of platforms of different local, regional, and municipalities, sometimes NGOs, they reach out to people. So to facilitate the integration between platforms, so we can transform the data, so we know all the information and we have bigger picture about the skills. This would help in the first layer. The second thing, the dynamic skills ontology. And that means that we know, everyone in this room know and understand the importance of using a unified skills language. But the problem now, if we are talking about just an example, ISCO, we know that ISCO is a very rich resource for occupation and the skills, but we can't rely on it to help us in finding out the skills from people or to extract the skills from people if we use it statically. So we need to use ISCO or those taxonomies as a starting point to feed it for the system, and then the system, by using feedback loops, can make those systems or those taxonomies dynamic and more responsive to the changes in the labor market. So this will help people to identify their skills based on the up-to-date skills taxonomy. The same thing for the skill profile, to be always up to date. I will not repeat this, we talked about it, but the most important here is the employer involvement in this. And we need in this skills intelligence to the employer to be involved and included, because if we only rely, or the coordination with employer is not aligned with the coordination of, like, with the job seekers, or everyone is talking different language, we will not be able to really match those demands that are coming from the employer to the skills that we have. Because again, the employers always, when they do their post in the website, they post advertisements for their jobs. They talk about qualifications and the year of experience, but they don't talk in details about the skills that they need. And this is a big problem when we are talking about mismatching and or reaching out to those unhidden skills. Yeah, okay. I will stop here because I don't want to take some time from my colleague, but I think I covered all my points. Thank you.
Azza, very good as always. And I now welcome up Shawn, Zlatan, Kulenovic, who is going to share with us his presentation on innovative approaches to Gen Z employment.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. I think since high school, when I was activist and then youth worker, and then in these 20 years to some kind of managerial positions and consultancy to different organizations, my passion was always working with youth and empowering them, I would say, in a meaningful way in society and labor market. So obviously that would be the part of the content for today. But when we are talking about youth, I mean the point here in the Western Balkan, where we are operating mostly in 6 countries, is interesting if you compare with EU market, not because of these numbers of 1.7 million young people in different categories here, but more that in NEET and then in unemployed youth, it's double almost when you compare with EU average. In the same time, we have the constant habit of brain drain, so people are leaving 30% in the last just 12 years, and still it's double unemployment and double inactivity at the labor market. What I wanted here to put on the table are 2 challenges that we are a little bit aware, but in the same time not thinking that they should be taken in consideration when we are talking about policy, life, whatever, and they are, in my opinion, 2 game changers. Number 1, here is about current situation. If you go to Davos, World Economic Forum, Future of Works, 1 million jobs will go out. If you just check interviews of Gates, Musk, Anthropic, Sullivan, etc., in next 10 years there will not be need for doctors, for teachers, etc. I mean, the whole narrative that IMF said in Davos, that it will be tsunami, we don't know exactly how and when, but what we know for sure, it will be fast, it will hit, it will change the lives, and of course, it will have a lot of implications, both on the labor market and education in that sense. So it never happened so fast. So this is something that, in my opinion, is alarm, not to be hit like COVID and then to say, oh, what we will do now when everything is closed. So this is, in my opinion, one challenge that is important to tackle in more innovative way. We will see why. The second challenge is that we are talking about different target group. This is the first year where the whole youth cohort is Gen Z. And Gen Z, in this particular case, as the first digital ever in the world and civilization generation, has very significant differences. I just put here, and you don't see, this is the screen, but if you take any, especially on psychological level, elements, you will see that this generation has different cognitive abilities, that the attention span in millennium, like me, was 12 seconds. For them, is 7 seconds the focus. It's like for third less. We are talking about 10 hours online. I was always shocked working with youth. Like, how can you be 10 hours a day online? But then they say you don't account very well the time. How? Well, when I'm sitting, I'm also online and talking to you. When I'm eating, it's YouTube. When it's this, it's a double. But still, you are on screen 10 hours a day. There are 74% of free time online. They have 76% influencer who is guru that you never heard for them, but they are the one who is maybe talking also about your career orientation. Then we have a lot of issues about mental health issues, anxiety, stress, etc. Not to go too deep. But to make the story short, they are different than any other youth generation before in their behavior, communication, understanding the world, etc. When you ask the employers in the same time, you will see that 75% of them, the managers in one report, are totally dissatisfied and frustrated with Gen Z as workers. Usually they are taking 3 things. We don't have time for elaboration. It's a lack of motivation. When we talk to managers, they usually say, oh, they're like low battery, no drive, no passion. No, they will do the job and that's it. That's their perception. The second thing, bad communication skill. Obviously, it's understandable why. If you don't put emoticon short and in video, they will not read it. And the lack of professionalism, it's more described that they are not on time, they don't care. They would say, okay, but why I have to do it today? Or if you don't want to do it, I will leave immediately, etc. Life, private balance, etc. I'm not judging, I'm not criticizing, I'm just quoting here, and we can analyze who is right or in which sense. What is here the challenge is that there are now just few of them like newcomers on the labor market, but you cannot expect that they will integrate in the labor market because they will be very soon majority with the same behavior, mentality, values, and everything else, not to mention what will happen with Generation Alpha that will also meanwhile come there. And the last data which I want to share was one research that was done also by UNICEF, but also by us, and more or less the same answer was the question, who is the best joker to call for your career development? Number one, obviously, is a family, parents, older brother and sister, which is fine if they are not living in their world of last 40 years. Because if you are working in supermarket as a sailor and you come back afternoon and see your kids, you will say, go for economy and law. That is in Bosnia, usually. Paper is important. If you finish, graduate, that will be good. So the information they have about labor market is something for the last 40 years, not the new one that those guys are talking to us. The second joker is online. Perfect. You see the lady in Dubai with cosmetics, with yachts, with everything, and then you get teenagers, number one, what they want to be. They want to be YouTubers and TikTokers. It's on European level research. So this is probably not the best way for the career orientation. Good joker, teachers, I love them, 18%. But in the Balkans, they don't have modern, structured, and I would even call it useful by their evaluation, not mine, system or guidebooks or methodology, how to do that job where they still have certain trust. And then the last joker, obviously, the worst one, where you will go even, oh, I'm going to the law faculty, oh, I'm going with you also. Why? Because you are my best friend. Why you will study that? No one knows, but Ivan is there. So this is some kind of let's say, orientation of this digital generation for the market that doesn't like them and for chaos that is going to happen. So what to do, I mean, there? Obviously, doesn't function previous way. This is something that we have different future, different needs, different young people, and doesn't match. So what our practice was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, doesn't function in the same, let's say, influential way, in the same impact way as it was before, due to some of the reasons I mentioned. So the only thing what we can do is, first of all, to understand a little bit deeper that you cannot teach someone who is programmed differently and to pressure him or her to do now a different way of job. So this is also a problem for businesses that they will need to change the processes, but also for PES and other institutions, how to literally translate measures to their language and then also to be a little bit more innovative. What we are doing now is trying to do that. I mean, obviously, and our 10-year experience in youth information field, even a little bit longer with Erika on European level, where we were members since 2004, was a little bit on the second, I would say, level, and I will just put all products here, which is basically the space where they can find opportunities. That's number one, concrete opportunities, and on daily level. When I say opportunities, scholarships, internships, jobs, voluntary positions, anything that can increase their skills and potential to let's say, support at the labor market. And second thing, which is very important, our role is to translate employer, to translate PES, to translate anyone who offers something in their language. So we have also here 16 short videos with memes, gigs, etc., different things to explain them what does it mean lifelong learning. What does it mean, the concept of change and future of jobs, skills, etc. In video format, 4 or 5 minutes, not more. They don't want to watch, see, read, definitely not. So this is, let's say, the hub for that kind of information. 2 months ago, we also started with the first basic AI career agent. Basically, it's 2 psychometric tests plus integrated ChatGPT, where they can also discuss about their tests about occupations based on international tests that are integrated there. And then also Besides that, we translated this portal last 2 months, in Albanian, Serbian, North Macedonian, so it will be the Balkan, basically 4 portals with the same role. The last thing on this slide, and I will finish in 1 minute, is that also we are trying to empower teachers, and together with business sector, not with school authorities, we are producing in the next 2 months the first guidebook as alternative one for the region in the Balkans, how to deal with this topic, and of course to use portal, AI, etc. that is already produced. And the last slide, there are some other approaches, more innovative. I will just not go in depth because we don't have time, but I will just say, although they're digital generation, what is needed, and we organize together with the agency and a lot of partners in Bosnia, the largest event, physical event, where we bring the whole ecosystem, institutions, business sector, young people, not as a job fair, that's too old-fashioned, but as a dynamic ecosystem fair with 3,000 participants where they can learn, be tested, communicate, have workshops, dialogue with CEOs and managers, etc., to understand the labor market and what does it mean today to be career-oriented. And the last point about this STAR Forum and businesses for Generation Z, we mapped 200 business networks. I think at the break I talked to some of the colleagues. Social dialogue in Balkans doesn't exist due to many different reasons, because there are very traditional, old-fashioned, communistic, socialistic structures that are still not modernized, but we have a lot of 200 business networks. Pro-IT sector, American Chamber of Commerce, SBL for BPOs, etc., which are willing to be in the policy arena. So what we are doing is connecting business networks and trying to see how they can contribute on concrete, not policy level, but activities to bring their people around. And that is happening, I mean, right now across the region, where I think on the policy level, and that would be my point, is also space for innovative approaches, but also for this outreach and how to deal directly with young people and Gen Z. And there will be some questions and discussions, so yeah, I can add later more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan. Give me a fist bump. That was a super high energy presentation and very well timed. Just before lunch, we needed a bit of a boost, so thanks for that. And during the presentation, we actually got our first question, and it was a question based on Jan's presentation, but I'm going to ask the question to Kristina as she comes up for her presentation, the final presentation in our session, because it's a question that you're best positioned to answer. Okay. Are you ready? And I will ask this in Swedish, if it's okay with you.
No.
Should PES work more closely with schools to help prepare young people for the labor market?
I mean, I don't know from whom did you get that question?
Well, it was from somebody. I don't know who.
Okay, so
Anonymous, it says.
is this going to take away time from my presentation, the answer?
No, you get bonus time for this.
Well, I think schools should definitely work with our PES, and we do collaborate a lot with the schools national-wide in Croatia. So we do provide, that's one of our core activities. We actually do the prevention activities starting from the pupils in the elementary school who are moving to the secondary school, and we of course provide them with the career guidance and all information. So we do have as well signed partnerships agreements with the different schools, but also sometimes the cooperation is more informal. So we just have a good contact and established traditionally long-lasting tradition of collaborating with schools and education sector, I would say, in general. So briefly, yes, it is very important, and we do have in Croatia very good results. So on the EU level, we have the lowest early dropout rate of early school leavers. So that's, I think, that can account and say that we're doing something right. I hope that answers your question.
And there was also a question about the issues with Gen Z seem substantial. The strange thing is, even though I'm 61, I was thinking, is he talking about me? I have a short attention span. I don't want to read long documents anymore. I think I've dropped from probably 30 seconds to 5 or 6 seconds now. So, okay, but we'll go into that a little later. Now you have your 10 minutes or so.
Okay,
presentation from Kristina Mazalin on the voucher system solution, which I personally think is actually a good system because it gives a lot of power into the hands of those who are going to invest in their future. But over to you.
Thank you, Shawn. First of all, thank you for having us from the Croatian PES. Hello to everyone in the room and also the people who are following us online. I will briefly try to be brief about the presentation of the voucher system as a representation of how we can actually address the skills that we are in need for today, but also, as I said on the title of my presentation, for tomorrow. And as Jan said, of course, today we are bombarded with information about what are the skills going to be in the near or maybe not so distant future. So what we know that the change will happen, and we do have some, of course, different reports that say that looking now, 80% of the actual employers on the European level find it challenging to find the right people with the right skills. And of course, this, I think also you can attest to this from your own country perspectives. And of course, today we don't have traditional jobs for life. We are expected to have, some say, even 10 job changes during our career. So also we are, of course, in the midst of AI transition and green transformation of our societies. And we are also faced with demographic changes, decline in birth rates and so on. And of course, then that ties in with the import of the workforce from the third countries and so on. So just to maybe also connected to Croatia, we had a report from McKinsey in 2004 that said that nearly 140,000 workers will need change of jobs to stay employed in the short period of time in the future. So this actually for our labor market is a large number of people that actually will need to reskill, upskill, and so on. So, I mean, it goes without saying this. Is it working? Okay. Is the foundation of a successful and dynamic society of today and tomorrow. So, how did we address this problem in Croatia? We introduced the voucher system in 2022. So it's been in force for 4 years now. And the aim of this system is to increase the, of course, participation rate of participation in adult education in Croatia, because when we started it was well below the European average. Many reasons could be because of that. One of probable reasons is because the cost of adult education. So many people cannot afford that if it's not financed through the public money. And also we wanted to promote the acquisition of the skills that are recognized as needed and will be needed. So the digital and green skills, but also some other skills that are in demand on the labor market. We also wanted to address that, not just concentrate on the maybe future needs as well. So this way we wanted to assure that the persons can have the easier career changes, transitions to career, and also to the access to the labor market, if we are mentioning it from the perspective or the, as Jan said, Gen Z also, because they do need a different let's say, flexible training system for them than the traditional ones. So it is, for Croatia, a new and flexible model that is a very targeted model of lifelong learning. And of course, it is a financial instrument that allocates the funds to the user. So the user can choose the program which they want to attend. So, but just speaking on the funding aspect, I have found the data that EU countries spend only 1.5 to 1.5 of GDP on adult education. As you can all see, that's a really low percentage. So Looking from the digital aspect, we're all digitalized, we're all using digital tools, and of course today it's unimaginable, but we do have 60 million adults aged 25 to 64 who are struggling with digital literacy, and in our day-to-day life, in public service, even in providing vouchers, that is a digitalized tool, we can attest to this. So what is the voucher system? Actually, it's a ecosystem that gathered together of course, from the higher levels, the Ministry of the Labor who designed the system, and then it's also supported by the Ministry of Education. They worked on a new Adult Education Act that was put in force before the voucher system. It was a kind of a prerequisite for it. And also we worked on the national qualifications framework. It needed to be set for the voucher system to be implemented. And also we had a project that did the mapping of the digital and the green skills. So in the between of this ecosystem, I would say, are the education providers and employers. Education providers, of course, they provide the programs, they design the programs, but also we have agencies here that I have mentioned. They have designed the exemplary programs that then education providers can use and implement in their education provision, and that way it can be maybe easier for them, because sometimes just to design a program that is in line with a qualification framework and then has digital and green skills incorporated, it can be quite challenging for them. And also we have employers. They benefit, I would say, in two ways, because we basically can educate their workers for free. And also they can be providers of the education. So especially if they provide non-formal programs, they can also benefit in that way. And we have the beneficiaries. As I said, that's the end user. They can be both unemployed or employed persons. So we have criteria who cannot be the user of the voucher. So if you are in regular education and if you are a student, you cannot use a voucher. And if you're a user of the pension fund, full pension fund, also you cannot use the voucher. But except that, the criteria is that the voucher system is open to every citizen. So, as I said, the user can choose a program, education provider by themselves from the available catalog that we have online of the programs. But of course, sometimes that's not necessary. We do have people who need career guidance. So we also have a digital tool, a self-assessment questionnaire that can help them to guide them in the selection of the right program for them. And also we provide face-to-face guidance services in our lifelong career guidance services, so they can contact us and arrange a meeting before applying for a voucher. Actually, the system is it was designed to be very tailor-made, easy to use, and fully digitalized. So once the person decides on the education program, they just contact the education provider for the offer, and they based on that offer, they of course submit the online application for that voucher. And of course, we process in our public employment services and award the vouchers along to the terms and conditions that we have established for vouchers. So you can see maybe here, currently we have around 300 education providers, 2,050 education programs, and but it amounts to 980 skills in our skills catalog. So it's quite a selection. Sometimes you do actually need career guidance if you don't know what to choose from the catalog. You can only, unfortunately, use one voucher. So users often ask us, well, I used for one program, but it's not enough. For example, if it's a micro-qualification program and they would like to use it for another one, but unfortunately, it is financed through, unfortunately, the circumstances don't allow it because it is funded through the National Recovery and Resilience Facility and also ESF Plus funding. So the we have to be quite strict and award just for now one voucher to one user. We do have some expectations. Of course, we do have our vulnerable groups that are that need more than one voucher, and this is recognized that if they can also get another voucher, and for certain programs that are in demand on the labor market, as you can see here, for example, for a personal assistant or a communication intermediary or a teaching assistant. So we had a set target through the National Recovery and Resilience Fund, and especially for reaching the target vulnerable groups in which category is NEET users as well. So some of them are Gen Z as well. So we have overreached that target, and actually that part of the voucher program ends in June. So we are quite happy with the results. And the continuation of the program is through the ESF Plus, and that will last till 2026 as it is expected now. So the majority of the voucher users are actually employed persons. So this tells us that probably, as I said, the cost of the education was probably also the main factor when we had a low participation in adult education. And we do see that people who are employed need that extra micro or partial qualifications to be more productive in their work. So here I just have some data on the retention on the labor market. Here also we have a really good results. Unemployed persons, based on our results, 66% of them are employed within 6 months after finishing the program, and 84% within 1 year after completion of the education through vouchers. And this user satisfaction rate is also very high, so we have 87% who rate the program and the voucher system as a really good system. Of course, we have success and challenges that we need to still work on. So I would say we had really great interest, and we still do from our employed and unemployed persons for the vouchers. So we are going to continue with this system. And what was very important is to bring cooperation between the labor market actors and education actors, as I said, in order to set up the system, because it's quite a comprehensive system, and it did take some preparation. And we do have also a quality control system that's really good within our voucher system. Of course, maybe just to add that the voucher system in Croatia is a setting ground for the individual learning accounts. That will be our next step in establishing it. So we are also quite, if you have it in your countries, we're also very keen on learn from your experiences. And also maybe just to say that what can we say about the quality and recognition of the voucher system is that we have been selected among 3 best projects on the EU level for Education Public Sector Award. So I think that can just attest how we are doing a good job setting up having the model that will strengthen the workforce, but also provide the skills that are really needed on today's and tomorrow's labor market. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Kristina. We've had about 9 interactions in Slido, and I'll hop right in because I know there are only about 10 minutes that stand before us and lunch. Yes, 10 minutes, lunch, and I'm hungry. I practice intermittent fasting, so I don't eat breakfast. So by the time lunch comes around, I'm ready to go. Some of these questions, we've already raised a few of them, and now now a few more have come in. But one of the first ones that we haven't talked about yet was a question about how to support young people in gaining workplace experience and skills for entry-level jobs that are increasingly being replaced by AI. we've seen the recent data, especially in the US, where a lot of recent graduates from university are having trouble finding work, and there's an AI effect for sure. Is there any one of the panelists here who would like to very, very briefly touch on that? Skills being replaced by AI, what are we going to do to give young people?
I mean, there's no solution because it's a process what is happening with cutting the junior positions. The only thing which you get as even from IT gurus, let's say, recommendation is how to develop adaptability and resilience and that lifelong learning, but in a practical way around young people. And this sounds great as an idea, but it means in our, let's say, practice that variation of exposure to practical experiences through youth organizations, student organizations, projects, research, etc., during your school and university is the only way that you gain that experience that you will not get it as a junior. So this is something that at least in Western Balkan, people are waiting to finish school and then to start, and this is not any more practical.
And I'm going to push hard now through these other comments. It's going to be really quick. Thank you. Quick response. Next one. We've heard a lot about Gen Z. How can we make sure the conversations about Gen Z are shaped with young people and not just about them? Anyone who wants to? Very quick.
I mean, the answer is yes. So they have to be there, but not as a participants. They don't like these settings. They don't like panels. They are bored with panels after 30 minutes. So the point is, yes, involvement, but to have meaningful, you need to have, I don't know, World Cafe, design thinking, different approaches, etc.
Good. Specific to Željko, could you explain how you connect municipalities in the context of the labor market, particularly from the perspective of the public employment services?
Hello. Speaking about our program, Youth Banks, for example, it's implemented in municipality cities in B&H, and it's important to highlight that apart and connect to the AI and connect to the developing the skills that's needed for labor market, municipalities are particularly interested to see the increase the level of the labor force at their municipal or city level. Speaking about the gaining the new skills, it's very important that we are providing and as well the grants for practice those gained skills. So it's not just a theory. We provide 30% of theory and 70% of practice, and reality that increase the level of employment, but as well the skill future labor at the municipal level through the hybrid approach of the practice and the theory.
Good. And now I'm going to direct the panelists because I see there are a number of them on Kristina's presentation, but I'll ask this question to Azza so that all of you got a chance to participate in the Slido discussions. The Azza point here is question for all panelists using digital tools and AI, which I know you have a lot of experience with. How do you verify and rank user skill levels beyond using AI to describe skills more clearly?
Yeah, this is one. Okay, this is one of the challenges actually, again, like where we need more human interaction and also to adapt the standards that we have. I was talking about the skills taxonomy for verifying the existence of the skills or to make the skills structured in a way the system can read it, but not all standards provide us such information in a standardized way so we can use it to verify and validate the skill levels for people. So this is also an area where we need more to work and to do interventions.
Thank you. Aren't we fast here? We have a number of questions to Kristina on the does Croatia have an education leave so that employed people can attend the education? Regarding the voucher scheme, how is the monitoring? Are there data on how many employed individuals receive the voucher? I saw you had a percentage of those who took a voucher who were employed, so you must have something there. as well, do you track people after the training are employed in the same field that the voucher was used for? So there are 3 questions to you on the vouchers use.
Okay. We do have the leave for employees who are for the purpose of adult education or education in general, that is embedded in our policy, employer's policy, but also through the law. So, but also sometimes, as I said, it is embedded in the law, but sometimes it also depends on your employer, how you're going to organize that and what is going to be, how it's going to be utilized actually with that employer. But yeah, the legal basis is there in our law. The second question was on the numbers. Yeah, I presented the numbers on the, so we as I said, we do have monitoring system, if I'm not mistaken about the question. We do follow what happens to the users of the vouchers 6 months and 1 year after the completion of the program, both unemployed and employed. One question I think it was on how many of them changed the job. So 17% I think of the employed do actually make a career change in that period, but of course this is, I wouldn't say a short period, but also voucher system, as I said, it's mostly micro qualifications and partial qualifications. So it's something that you build on. It's not maybe realistic to expect that you will completely change a job within 1 year based on gaining a micro qualification. But of course, if you are employed, it does allow you to maybe advance in your career in that field with that employer. And was it all of the questions?
I think you've touched on them.
Yeah.
And I mean, and if there's someone who wants really specific information from Kristina, I suggest go talk to her during the lunch or the afternoon. Is there a final question in the approximately 90 seconds that we probably have from anyone in the audience? Old school, without using slider, not slider, what is it called? What is the tool we're using called? Slido. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to ask a question to one of our panelists? I do not see anybody, and it's 12:59. What do you say? I say great thanks to our 4 panelists who did a great job of not only giving us interesting and inspiring information, but more or less following the time. So thank you so much, and thank you to the audience for 13 Slido questions and comments.